Welcome to our webinar today, Outdoors for All, Advancing Inclusion and Access in Parks. I'm Emily Malsh with Transcend and the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. This webinar is being brought to you by the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center on behalf of the ADA National Network. For those of you that don't know, the ADA National Network is made up of 10 centers that are federally funded to provide training, technical assistance, and guidance on the ADA. So we are one of 10 regional ADA centers. And you can reach your regional ADA center by calling 1-800-949-4232. I want to turn it over because it is the top of the hour to our presenters today, Jennene Blakely.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Emily, for that introduction. I want to start with a little story about one of the parks that we have in our system. So we have a park in Sandy Spring, Maryland, called the Woodlawn Manor Cultural Park. This park is home to an Underground Railroad experience trail, which is open year-round to the public. While it's available for public use, the park offers guided tours that describe what the experience might have been like for enslaved individuals who were seeking freedom. This natural surface trail is not ADA compliant. Additionally, the park includes the Woodlawn Museum, which is located in a stone barn that was originally constructed in 1832. It was renovated more recently to meet the requirements of the ADA and to tell many of the stories that docents would tell along the trail. This museum was designed with the intent that if folks were unable to access the experience trail, they could have a similar alternative experience within the museum. The facility manager, who has worked at the park for over 9 years, has trained countless employees on how to take people on guided tours, but she had never seen the trail personally herself due to an injury. She is unable to walk long distances, so she hadn't been able to get on the trail to visit this, to see the sites. She described the areas to staff using only pictures and videos. Most recently, Montgomery Parks invested in a grit all-terrain wheelchair to help individuals to navigate natural surface trails, and we were able to bring it over to the Woodlawn Manor Park. While we took this employee, again, who had never seen this trail she had trained countless people on for 9 years, she was able to access this trail. She recognized trees that she pointed out that were used as markers for where to turn. She was able to recognize where the muddy areas that patrons would often complain about when they were visiting the tours. She was able to note some of the downed trees that she has to report to our maintenance folks, all by just what other people have told her about that trail. And so this is just a story about how Montgomery Parks, we adhere to the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but we really strive to go above and beyond to provide people with all of the opportunities that Parks has to offer. So my name is Jennene Blakely. Slide 2. My name is Jennene Blakely. I am the Program Access Manager for Montgomery Parks. Today I am wearing I have brown hair. I'm wearing a blue shirt that has Montgomery Parks Program Access logo on it, and I have a green backdrop that says Montgomery Parks. So to tell you a little bit about my story, I actually have the straightest path to get here. I have a degree in Parks and Recreation Management. I have a master's in Therapeutic Recreation, where I focus most of my research on inclusive best practices across the country. Before I came to Montgomery Parks, I spent nearly 10 years working with middle school students, often minorities with limited access to resources, where I incorporated all of the concepts of inclusive recreation and universal design to plan quality programs for these middle schoolers. I joined Montgomery Parks in 2018 and have been developing new programs and special events ever since. On a personal level, I have a husband, I have 3 children, and my off-the-clock job is making sure that they are at all of their activities all day, every day. I will introduce you to my colleague, Amanda.
Hello, my name is Amanda Espinoza. I'm the Inclusion and Adaptive Sports Specialist for the Montgomery Parks Program Access team. I'm a Latina female with dark brown hair wearing a black polo with a green background. And my passion for working with people with disabilities began in high school through volunteering with Best Buddies, a global nonprofit that promotes social inclusion. And that inspired me to dedicate my career to advancing social inclusion. Over the past 10 years, I've held roles ranging from job coach and personal support to inclusive childcare teacher and behavior technician, gaining experience in training, mentorship, and creating equitable, community-centered opportunities across all ages. As a Bolivian immigrant and the youngest of 5 siblings of a very active family, dance and sports have shaped my love for community and staying active. And those values are what I bring now to my role in Montgomery Parks, where I combine recreation and inclusion to create safe, innovative, and welcoming programs for all.
So I'm very proud of the team that we have here in Montgomery Parks in the Program Access Office. We have a very unique blend of experiences. We've got parks and recreation professionals, we've got special education backgrounds, therapeutic recreation, personal interests in sports and wellness, event planners, and most importantly, we have a team of just really compassionate people who are critical thinkers who want to provide a place where people feel welcome and have a place where they belong here in parks. So today we're going to talk a little bit about ADA and the Title II requirements. We're going to highlight how Montgomery Parks is providing inclusive opportunities and the types of programs that we're offering. And we hopefully are going to offer you some ideas that you can bring back to your own agency if appropriate. Slide 3. So the Americans with Disabilities Act, as many of you probably know, just celebrated the 35th anniversary. The passage of the ADA was on July 26, 1990, after decades of injustice and inequity. The ADA provides discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. The purpose of the law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. The ADA is divided into 5 titles or sections that relate to the different areas of public life. Title II, in particular, requires state and local governments, including parks, to ensure people with disabilities can equally participate. The Department of Justice published revised regulations for Titles II and III of the ADA on September 15, 2010. These regulations adopted revised enforceable accessibility standards called the 2010 ADA Standards for Accessible Design. The 2010 standards set minimum requirements technically for newly designed and constructed or altered state and local government facilities, public accommodations, and commercial facilities to be readily accessible to and usable by people with disabilities. So, of course, we have an obligation to follow the law. We want to provide equal opportunities for individuals with disabilities. We make sure that we are providing reasonable modifications to policies and procedures. We in parks, we're ensuring that we're providing effective communication, whether it's interpreters, plain language, or assistive technology. The image on the top left is of an individual speaking and a sign language interpreter next to them at our most recent Disability Pride Outside event, where we celebrated the passage of the ADA. And the image on the bottom left shows how we enlarged a smaller area of a map to make it easier for folks to read and follow. We also are required to ensure that our facilities and amenities are all accessible. The second picture is of Parks' newly constructed carousel at Wheaton Regional Park. This carousel has a built-in ramp, space for a wheelchair, and a bench so families can enjoy the ride together. You've likely heard it before that the ADA is the floor, not the ceiling. It isn't about doing something extra, but it's about removing barriers so people can exercise their fundamental rights, and in our case, exercise their right to leisure and recreation. Slide 4. So Montgomery Parks is part of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, which is one of the largest and most diverse parks, recreation, and planning departments in the country. It is a bi-county agency between Montgomery County and Prince George's County. In the image you see on this slide, it includes a county map of Maryland. The shovel is what people often describe it as, is in the black box. It highlights the line between the two counties and its proximity to Washington, D.C. For context, we're approximately 45 minutes southwest of Baltimore City. Our organization is nearly 100 years old. Our counterparts in Prince George's Department of Parks and Recreation were way ahead of the ADA and just recently celebrated 50 years of providing recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities. So a little bit of background about Montgomery County, Maryland. Our population is almost 1.1 million people, and demographic data has shown that nearly 9% of individuals in our county are living with a disability. It is also said that between 1 in 43 children under the age of 8 in Maryland have autism spectrum disorder. Additionally, older adults have the highest prevalence of disability, with over 45,000 individuals, nearly 25% of the older adult population reporting a disability. So, unless somebody has a magic will, we probably are not getting any younger. So having a disability is the largest minority that any one of us or a family member can enter at any time. So it's really important that we're all working together to ensure that our spaces and our opportunities are designed with every person in mind. Slide 5. So this slide here shows a quick glance at some of the amenities that our park system offers. This Parks Green Tree report is available online and is updated several times throughout the years. We have in Montgomery Parks 414 and counting parks. We have 268 playgrounds, and we have over 270 miles of trails, both paved and natural surfaces. So that's a lot of parks that we have to make sure are compliant, as you might imagine. So we also have some unique amenities in parks who are often our partners in programming. So those include our nature centers. We have 4 nature centers and a nature classroom. We have indoor tennis facilities, ice rinks, historic sites, and public gardens. Probably one of our most popular amenities is Brookside Gardens in Wheaton, Maryland. If you haven't had a chance to visit it, you definitely should. Our department offers large special events, programs, and classes, and also offers summer camps in highly specialized areas. It is important to note that we are separate from Montgomery County Recreation. They are our friends. We partner with them in every place that we can, but we are different. Montgomery Recreation offers more traditional recreation opportunities. So they've got the community centers, the senior centers, the aquatic facilities, art, sports, enrichment, fitness and wellness, cooking, dance, STEAM. They're doing a lot of that. So we have folks who often get us a little mixed up, and it helps to clarify. So when you have this many assets, it's important to note that inclusion isn't just about one program. It has to really be system-wide. Slide 6. So the picture you see on the left is of an individual who is wheeling their wheelchair down a ramp to an accessible boat launch, walking next to a companion who is holding a kayak paddle. And we'd like to give you a little bit of context about what accessibility looks like here in Montgomery Parks. So I mentioned it's everybody's job to make sure that we are providing an inclusive and accessible space. So it is a shared commitment across multiple divisions and sections. So as we mentioned before, the ADA introduced the new standards in 2010, and in 2011, Montgomery Parks and Montgomery County government entered into a settlement agreement with the Department of Justice to enhance accessibility. The requirements included physical improvements to 19 parks and providing equal access to leisure programs. We successfully completed those physical requirements, and the Program Access Office recently celebrated its 10th anniversary in February of 2025. Beyond the ADA requirements, Parks created the Access Team, better known as the A-Team, which is a multidisciplinary group dedicated to accessibility, equity, and inclusion. We provide reasonable services, modifications, and physical accessibility to ensure all individuals can enjoy leisure activities with dignity and respect. The A-Team meets quarterly to share updates and resources, connect on projects, and plan trainings for the department. Additionally, we work together to plan an annual Spirit Awards ceremony where we recognize employees who do not work primarily with people with disabilities, but who have demonstrated a strong personal commitment to those individuals, inclusion, accessibility, and the ADA in their respective work programs. We believe that this is important because it gives our work more visibility throughout the year, and it encourages our colleagues to remain committed to accessibility in their work. Montgomery Park, in a sentence, it goes above legal compliance. We value inclusion in every aspect of our work. Slide 7. The role of the Access Team, or the A-Team, is to develop, define, and implement policies, procedures, design construction practices and protocols to ensure that Montgomery Parks is in full compliance with the spirit and the intent of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So here is a breakdown of who is on this team here in Parks. We have 3 folks that are specifically focused on physical accessibility in our parks. They keep up with all of the most relevant ADA standards. They take reasonable steps to remove barriers, and they establish projects to create equal opportunities within our parks. We have several folks in our public affairs and community partnerships group that focuses on web and digital accessibility, which I'm sure there are many other trainings that go into much more detail about what those requirements are. But they make sure that our public-facing websites and documents are following all of the web content accessibility guidelines. And that's for both our website and any documents that are public-facing. We have an employee in our HR unit who is one important part of her job is making sure that employees are getting the accommodations that they might need. So they have an internal interactive process that they're working on. So we want to make sure that our employees are in a supportive environment as well. And then finally, there's the Program Access Team, which is what Amanda and I are on. And some of our colleagues who are also on this call. And we provide support services to activities within our parks for individuals with disabilities. We maintain effective communication and we promote inclusivity throughout all of our programs. Slide 8. So as somebody who has been in the field of therapeutic recreation, the goal of therapeutic recreation is to use leisure and recreational activities to help individuals with disabilities to improve their physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and spiritual functioning, ultimately providing a better quality of life, independent functioning, and successful engagement in meaningful life activities. So here you can kind of see a continuum, which is sometimes associated with what's called the leisure education model, which is used in therapeutic recreation. So leisure education is about giving people the skills, knowledge, and confidence to choose and engage in recreation independently. So it usually includes the following. We've got leisure awareness to help people to understand the value of leisure and to help sort of determine their own preferences and what they're really interested in doing. Building social interaction skills. So sometimes we need to go back to basics, figure out how to communicate with peers, cooperation, inclusion skills. So it's working through that. And then finally, teaching leisure activity skills that can be used independently to assist individuals with how to find, access, and advocate for recreation opportunities in their community. So the continuum that's in this slide here sort of shows what it could look like. So there's the clinical and outpatient programs, which oftentimes is more closely associated with a hospital or some sort of medical facility where they're building on skills, they're seeing what kind of adaptations they might need. This might be in combination, a recreation therapist might be working closely with an occupational therapist or a physical therapist, and using their leisure interests to help develop those skills or learn new leisure activities. And then we have community-based therapeutic recreation, which is on the right side of the slide, which includes the specialized adaptive programs, which are designed most often for individuals, just with individuals with disabilities. We have inclusion services, where participants can apply the skills that they learned alongside of their peers without disabilities, with as much support as they might need. We start with the least amount of support, and then we provide more support as we find that they need it. And then finally, the ultimate goal, which is to be able to help people to have independent leisure and be able to choose the recreation that supports their lifelong well-being. So we really want to build a pathway where participants learn the tools to access leisure on their own and use it for the rest of their lives. So I'm going to tell you a little story about Marty and our friend here, Luke, who was pictured in this community-based programs and services. So Marty, who's in the blue with the yellow helmet, she's a licensed physical therapist who specializes in spinal cord injury, neurologic disorders, amputee, and trauma rehabilitation. She also happens to have a personal passion for mountain biking. Together with her husband, Dave, she built an adaptive mountain biking program at Patapsco Valley State Park that led to the creation of a Catalyst Sports adaptive mountain biking chapter in the greater DC area. Luke, who's here in the orange, first joined one of their adaptive mountain biking clinics. These clinics are intentionally designed for individuals with disabilities to try different types of bikes and learn the basics in a supportive environment. Luke loved the experience so much that he began participating in weekly inclusive rides, biking alongside riders with and without disabilities, both at Patapsco Valley State Park and in Montgomery Parks' Roots to Rocks program, which is a program that aims to increase access to mountain biking of all ages and backgrounds. As his confidence grew, so did his love of adaptive mountain biking. So Luke went and worked on some grant applications and secured funding to purchase his own adaptive mountain bike. And so he is independently participating in our Montgomery Parks Roots to Rocks ride without any support from our office. Another fun fact is that his mom invested in an e-bike so she can ride with him, while his dad is still using his standard bike to try to keep up with him on the trails. So people who work in community-based therapeutic recreation programs often say that the goal would be to work yourself out of a job, to help build the infrastructure that promotes a sense of belonging for individuals with disabilities, where everyone feels welcome, where every employee has the tools, knowledge, and confidence to support any person in their program. Here in Montgomery Parks and Program Access, we take that responsibility really seriously, and it shows up throughout our work program. What we invest in and the trainings we provide for our colleagues is hopefully going to create an environment where everybody is welcome. Slide 9. So this is where we come in. Montgomery Parks provides highly specialized programming throughout the year that align with Montgomery Parks' mission, which is to focus on promoting physical activity, social connectivity, and environmental stewardship. The Program Access offers these community-based programs, services, and supports. We want people to make their own choice in their leisure pursuits. And in this case, not one size is not going to fit all. And so we need to meet people where they are. And Amanda's going to tell you about how we do that.
Okay, slide 10. Our specialized adaptive programs are designed to meet participants where they are, and like Jennene said, and help introduce them to outdoor recreation activities that they may have never tried before or have even thought possible, or maybe wanting to come back to. So from adaptive mountain biking and hiking to inclusive sports and community events, our goal is really to create those meaningful experiences and opportunities for everyone. We work to make sure that they are all accessible and reduce barriers such as cost and language. Many of our programs are offered free of charge, and we also provide outreach and support to Spanish-speaking communities so that everybody feels welcome. These are considerations that we take into account to make sure that all of our programs are successful. And the image that you see is of our Outdoors for All banner that we take out to our events, and that's new this year. Slide 11. The key considerations that we take into account when we're planning and facilitating our adaptive and therapeutic recreation programs are participants, equipment, and staff and volunteers. Those are really the three components that we make sure that we want to take into consideration when we're planning. So participants are the community members that are going to come out to our program and partake in the activity or sport. And equipment are the materials, gear, or specialized equipment needed to safely and successfully run the programs and support each participant's individual needs. And our staff and volunteers are also very important, and these are the trained personnel and community members that help us plan our events or support our participants during the event and helps facilitate the program. You can see that we have partnerships listed as a key consideration for all of these aspects, and they're truly the reason why our programs are so successful and have been able to reach so many different community members. And so for our participants, we have partnerships for outreach and promotion. This can be different community organizations that we're working with to provide the programs or events, or other service provider agencies that we've connected with to be able to get their participants and the people that they support out in our parks and in our programs. And so that's really helpful. Our marketing team helps us make sure that we're creating accessible flyers and accessible web pages to share online as well, and connect with those community groups that are looking for these opportunities. Partnerships for equipment include like equipment lending with different organizations. As you all know, equipment, especially some of our specialized equipment that we'll talk about, is not very inexpensive. So there is a cost there, and acquiring that much equipment to run a large event may be difficult. And we do have some equipment of our own, but we rely on these partnerships to be able to access additional equipment or even more specialized equipment so that we can get more folks out in our nature and in our park system. And we also have partnerships for volunteer recruitment and training. This is a very important part of our programs. We, again, rely on those community organizations that are like-minded or share similar values with us or have similar missions to be able to reach those community members that are already engaged in these sports and activities and share their passion with the rest of our program participants. And so our partnerships have truly strengthened the impact of our programs, and we're really grateful to them. Slide 12. I wanted to give you all a couple examples of our adaptive recreation and adventure programs, just to kind of start off and give us a lens of where we can kind of dive in deeper. So the first in the picture on the left is of our adaptive mountain biking program. This is our program that uses recumbent power assist trikes to allow people to access natural surface trails and paved trails throughout our park system. We've partnered with Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park, Catalyst Sports, Lancaster Recumbent, Moore, which is the Maryland Off-Road Enthusiasts, and our internal natural surface trails team to provide learn to ride clinics, demo days, and inclusive group rides for this sport. It's really fun, and it's something that some folks are really maybe hesitant to try because it's a little bit adventurous and a little bit riskier, but it really is a lot of fun. And this picture shows two volunteers helping a participant learn the controls of one of our adaptive mountain bikes before he takes it out on his very first ride over at Little Bennett. The second picture is of our adaptive kayaking program, and this came about through a partnership with Team River Runner, a nonprofit whose mission is to provide all active duty veterans and their families the opportunity to find health, healing, community purpose, and new challenges through adventure and adaptive paddle sports. We also rely on our internal kayaking instructors and even become instructors ourselves to be able to facilitate these programs. So I too am now a certified kayaking instructor, and that's been really helpful to be able to provide safe programs. But in this picture, we have a participant in an adaptive boat being fitted by our program partner, Joe. Many people know Joe. And he's helping get him all set up in his boat. And this was at our most recent Disability Pride Outside event. And then the last picture on the right is of our adaptive fishing program, which provides an inclusive opportunity for people to engage in this very popular pastime. We host an annual inclusive fishing rodeo, as well as specialized fishing programs in partnership with our park naturalists for participants of different organizations. And they often will bring out families, children and adults with disabilities to be able to engage in this activity. So this picture shows me assisting with a fish that our participant caught, getting it off the hook, and he is in a wheelchair on our accessible dock at Black Hill Regional Park. So this one is always a lot of fun and one of my favorite events as well out of the year. So like I mentioned, I just wanted to give you all a couple of opportunities. Not pictured are some more programs that we offer, which are adaptive birding, hiking, bocce, and also some nature-based programs. So I just want to give us a little lens before we dive into the key considerations that we take when we're planning these programs. Slide 13. So for our participants, we take pride in providing a high level of service to all of the participants who join us or are interested in joining our programs. We believe that it really benefits our program as well as individual outcomes when we proactively and efficiently get to know the needs of our participants before they come out to our park. So there are a couple different steps that we take to prepare ourselves and prepare the participants and their families. Again, because some of our programs are a little bit more adventurous and risky and involve different types of equipment, we want to make sure we're providing them all the information that they need and receiving all the information we need to be able to provide that quality program. The steps that we take are sending out a pre-consultation adaptive sports form. After they register for our program, we will send out an online form to get some additional information about their communication, their disability, any assistive devices they may use, their general health and fitness level, and also kind of get a sense of their eligibility and if they meet our minimum eligibility requirements for our programs. This is again something we do for more so for our adaptive sports than our like therapeutic or kind of general recreation programs. And it also helps us prepare for the next part of this process, which is our pre-program consultation. So this is like a phone call that we have with our participants before the program to answer any questions that they may have, but also set clear expectations and goals on our end of what they can expect from us, what the program entails, the schedule of the day, and other features like accessible parking, restrooms, anything else they might need from us that doesn't really come to mind when somebody's maybe just signing up for a program. There might be other considerations. And so we want to learn that before they come out so that we are prepared. And we also send out a welcome letter before our program. This is an email that has information about our point of contact and any additional images or pictures or maps that they might find useful before the program. Our pre-consultation step also we do through a bookings app. So our organization uses Microsoft apps and tools. And so one of the apps that we've been able to use is Bookings, where families and participants can just book a time that works for them on their end to speak with me prior to a program. And if there is no time on the calendar that they see that works for them, then I work with them to find another time, or we can communicate in their preferred method, whether that's text message or email. So we really try to find a way to make it work for everyone. And what these steps really help us ensure is that we have, again, that equipment ready if we're needing to match participants to particular types of equipment, that we can schedule that out and that not that everybody has what they need when it's their scheduled time for the program. We also want to coordinate our participants to their volunteers and see who might be a good match if we know any returning volunteers. Or maybe learning styles and things like that. It's helpful to get that information so we can plan our staffing accordingly for the programs. And that information we also share with our volunteers ahead of time so that they feel comfortable and prepared to support the participant that they may be working with as well. And then the last thing about this step, and really getting to know our participants before they come out to our programs, is to ensure that we're meeting their needs and that they are a good fit for our program, whichever one they may have signed up to attend, whether it was a specialized program, if it was an inclusive setting. We want to make sure that is a good fit for them, and that, again, that they meet our minimum requirements. So we may be able to have those conversations and ask a couple more clarifying questions and really determine that match for them. And if it's not a good match, or if they, based on this information that we receive, are not a good fit for the program that we're running, then we can recommend other options, or we can try to work with them so that they can still come to the program, but it may just look a little bit different to meet their needs. And we're both on the same page as to what to expect from the program. We know some of them carry a little bit more risk. And so safety is definitely our number one priority. But with our specialized programs, we've been able to serve people with all different types of disabilities and have really great outcomes. Slide 14 is about our equipment. Our adaptive equipment enables individuals with diverse disabilities to safely and comfortably access recreation activities. And our partnerships really strengthen, again, the opportunities for that equipment lending and shared use. And the success of our adaptive equipment really relies on how we can customize it and adjust it for different participants, making sure it's safe and well maintained. Another consideration that goes into that is obviously storage and transportation. Equipment for some of our outdoor adventure activities like kayaking and mountain biking are a lot larger than some of our other pieces of equipment that might be like a hand scope or a fishing reel or something like that. So depending on the program and the equipment, we do take that into consideration to make sure that we can keep the equipment running for as long as possible. And some of the pictures on the screen are of our adaptive sports equipment. So the top left picture is of an outfitted kayak, which is outfitted for stabilizing outriggers, as well as a paddle pivot. So the outriggers help provide balance to the boat, and the paddle pivot helps hold up a paddle so that a participant can rotate it in the water, all through a partnership with Team River Runner, again, who owns that boat and lends us that equipment for our programs. And the picture is also right before a transfer. So we're using a transfer bench system to get the participant from his wheelchair onto the bench and then to slide down into the cockpit of the boat. And underneath that transfer bench, you may see some large gray wheels, and that is part of our chariot system, which allows us to transfer on a flatter, more stable area of the park, and then pull the boat into the water until it's nice and stabilized in the water, and then we remove that system. So that helps to bring the boat in and out of the water. And then the other two pictures are of our two adaptive mountain bikes that Montgomery Parks owns. The first on the top right is of our Terra Trike, which is a power assist foot pedaled trike. And it is recumbent, and it allows participants with a lot of different types of disabilities to go out who may just need some extra stability, or have we've gotten a lot of participants that have autism out on that bike, which provides the balance, but they're able to do the instruction and make those safe decisions out on the trails. And so that's been a lot of fun. And then the bottom picture is of our recumbent hand cycle, which is a lasher, and that one is really useful to get almost everybody out on the trails. It's very adjustable. You can adjust the seating, the leg positioning, the controls of the bike as well, and it is very strong. It's got a power assist and throttle, so it can get you through lots of tough terrain. Yep. Slide 15. So our volunteers and staff, they really make all the difference for our programs. We would not be able to impact as many participants and community members as we have without the help of volunteers and some internal staff. And so for our programs, especially the adaptive sports and more specialized programs, we do provide a higher staff to participant ratio so that we can give that individualized support. Knowing the needs and the goals of the participant beforehand helps us plan out our staffing to make sure that we meet those needs. And if we get to a point where participants are becoming a little bit more independent or needing less support throughout the year, throughout the season, then we do fade out that support based on how comfortable they're feeling in our programs. We also have cross-training and for our staff and volunteers. So cross-training kind of goes into the fact that we have volunteers that may be experts in their sport, like expert mountain bikers or expert kayakers, but may have not worked with people with disabilities before. Or we may have volunteers who are in like medical professions like physical therapists, occupational therapists, or even like special education teachers, anything in that area, and may have never kayaked or mountain biked before. So we provide that training so that all of the volunteers feel comfortable with our equipment, with our program and the schedule of the day and what their role is going to be during those events and programs. And it really helps build that confidence to be able to serve the people that attend. We also will like to mentor and guide them and provide that encouragement through that process as they continue to volunteer for not just our programs. Again, with our partnerships, we have volunteers that may go from a program at Patapsco to one of our programs, or that volunteer for Team River Runner and then also volunteer for us during different rides. So we can guide them because we're partners and we can see them at our different programs. We can provide that encouragement and help build their confidence when they come out to our specialized adaptive programs. And we also provide on like the job essentially orientation. So the morning of our programs, especially for our larger events where we're using some more complex or specialized equipment, we'll provide our volunteers and staff some time to try out the equipment, to learn more about it, ask questions, so that they feel comfortable being able to teach somebody else how to use it. The outreach efforts to gain our volunteer pool has been really helpful, and we're hoping to continue to grow that. We also use internal volunteers from Montgomery Parks in different teams and different offices to come out to our programs, so they may be able to help support some participants as well. We have partnerships like that with our volunteer services office and a couple of other teams within Montgomery Parks that come out regularly to our programs. And I wanted to share a quote that we received from one of our surveys. that we sent out to participants about one of our volunteers. So I'll go ahead and read that. It says, "Dear Amanda and the amazing volunteer team, thank you so much for organizing such a meaningful and memorable event in honor of the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was a beautiful celebration of inclusion and outdoor fun, and we are truly grateful to have been a part of it. My daughter Lily had an incredible experience. She was able to go kayaking for the very first time in her life. Honestly, I never imagined that would be possible for her. But thanks to the encouragement and gentle guidance of her amazing volunteer, Molly, Lily felt confident and supported every step of the way. It was a moment of empowerment that we will never forget. This experience has opened our eyes to what's possible for Lily, and we're especially thankful for tips and encouragement we received to help her continue enjoying the outdoors. With Black Hill Regional Park being so close to us, we're excited to explore more opportunities through Montgomery County Program Access. Thank you again for all the time, care, and heart that went into making this event so special. Your dedication truly makes a difference in the lives of families and like ours. And I just really wanted to share that because, again, our volunteers really make a huge difference in the impact that our participants get from all of our programs. And so we're really thankful for that.
Thanks, Amanda. Slide 16. So Amanda mentioned some of our internal partners that volunteer at events. Admittedly, they're especially excited when they have a chance to volunteer for some of our meaningful day programs that happen during the regular workday. So Montgomery Parks, we get out and visit parks all the time. And unfortunately, and too often, we see groups of individuals with disabilities just sitting in our parks. And so we recognize that there was a significant need to provide activities during the day for folks and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we have just recently started providing some more meaningful day program opportunities where we're trying to increase social interactions between people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're promoting health and wellness, and we really just want to build relationships and communities. These programs that we're offering, we're really trying to design the program so that they meet the needs of as many people as possible. Of course, we will still take an individualized approach if necessary, and we'll provide any additional modifications if we need to. But we really set up our programs so that everybody can be successful. So the image on the bottom left there is of a weekly walking club that we started. It's called Trail Trekkers. And in order to make this program as accessible as possible, we've selected the most accessible paved surfaces that still are in a more natural environment so people can get the full experience of what it's like to be out in nature. We invested in these portable stools that can actually, they're light enough to clip to your backpack. So in case someone needs to take a break and there isn't a bench available. We have our all-terrain wheelchair available for folks who might have limited mobility. We have conversation starters that are included to make sure that people, if they don't know anybody, they can get to talk to somebody new. Because sometimes just deciding what to talk about can be a barrier for initiating conversation. And then last is that we have a certified master naturalist who also happens to be on the autism spectrum. And he is there to point out birds and plants and other natural elements that are found in our parks. So we usually have between 2 and 3 folks who are on those walks from the program access office in case anybody needs any additional assistance or needs to hang back for whatever reason or needs a guide along the trail. In the picture you see there in the middle is a brand new program. We just started it 3 weeks ago. It's a partnership with the Special Olympics of Maryland, and we are playing bocce ball. So we, in our park system, despite all of the awesome amenities that we have, we actually don't have a bocce ball court. And so the Special Olympics was generous enough to loan us 3 of their portable and inflatable bocce courts. So that mixed with a little bit of chalk paint, we are able to get almost 24 people playing bocce every week. We're already seeing the benefits of participation in the program. Folks are learning the skill. They're meeting new friends. They're connecting with old friends. I know Amanda said that she saw somebody that she used to know when she was working in Best Buddies. And one of the cool things about bocce is that you can literally play it anywhere. So you don't need all of the courts. You just need the balls in order to play bocce. So we're really excited about where that program can go. And we hope that it'll also help our Parks Department to in the future invest in some more fully accessible bocce courts in our park system. And then last is the top photo on the left is a program that we developed in collaboration with a local organization called the Sunshine Project. And so while most of our Meaningful Day programs are open to anybody with an intellectual disability, whether it's from an organization or an individual and their parent, in this particular case, the Sunshine Project wanted to have a special day out of the park. And so their group came and kayaked with us. And I'll share a little story about one of our participants named Claire. She actually joined us at one of our adaptive kayaking programs very early on. I believe it was our first adaptive kayaking program. And she was quite frankly petrified to get out on the water. She was worried she was going to tip. She did not want to go swimming. She did not know how to kayak. And since that point, she has, with the guidance, actually Molly was another one. She comes to our kayaking programs quite frequently. She provided some coaching to her and to her mother. And Claire kayaked with us one additional time, and then she came with us on this special day for the Sunshine Project. And I was partnered with her, and I was anticipating her to be quite nervous. And she was not at all. She was so confident on the water. One of her other friends who had never kayaked before was showing some of the anxious feelings that Claire had early on. And Claire was actually encouraging her friend to get out on the water and telling her it was going to be okay, and that she could learn it too. So we are really excited about where these programs are going to go and what's next for Program Access Office. We hope that we can provide, we only have 4 people on our team, full-time employees. We have about 13 support staff that are available. Unfortunately, not many of them are available during the school year. But we want to have as many programs during the day as possible because we want parks to be a place where folks with disabilities can spend their time. All right, so I think we're having a little bit of trouble with the chat. Is that right? Can anybody see the chat?
Yes, participants can enter comments and questions in the chat feature.
Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna have a quick, I just want to ask you, when you hear the word belonging, what does that mean to you? You could write in the chat, and I'll start reading that off. Or if you feel more comfortable, tell me, you could describe a place where you feel like you belong. Start reading some of these off because everybody's family, welcoming, be a part of something, connection, not intimidated to try something. I like that, not feeling intimidated. All are welcome at work. I like that. W. Johnson, I'm glad you feel belonged at work. Acceptance, connected, sense of purpose. Surrounded by your people and people who understand you. I think that's really important to note too. Like-minded individuals included, no barriers to enjoyment. Y'all know the deal. Equal access to equal participation. These are really good. Can everybody else see other folks' comments, or is it only us that can see the comments? Not judged.
Hey, Jennene, this is Emily. It's just us. Our
It's
Zoom
just us.
setting.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
I do have to read them. Okay,
Yeah, if you don't
sorry.
mind, it's our Zoom settings.
No, it's okay. It's no problem. Well, I think I captured a lot of them. Amanda, did I miss any other really good ones?
A feeling of sense of safety or comfort
Mm,
and participate in any capacity they desire. That's good.
those are all really, really good words that describe belonging. And so, you know, as we've sort of stated throughout this presentation, is we're going above the law. We're going just above physically including people into our spaces. We want people to feel a true sense of belonging when they are coming to our programs. We want people to be with their peers. We want people to feel comfortable. We want people to feel safe. And we want people to feel active and engaged and fully supported in our programs. And so that is what we're working on. Tell me, if we can also enter in the poll, what you think some of the benefits of inclusive recreation might be. Togetherness, fair access, gain perspective, less risky. Karen has a question. Families that could participate with their family member. So I know Amanda sort of touched on that, but that's something that's really important to us. At many of our adaptive recreation programs, we do allow and actually encourage family members, companions, friends to have somebody with them that they might so that their family member can also build those skills again to promote that independent recreation opportunity later. Confidence, peer relationships, learning lifelong skills that can be done with others. Learning about individuals with disabilities is a skill set, absolutely. Equal opportunity, increased quality of life. I got more than I have. Confidence building. So those are all really good. And I think what it seems like based on the responses that we're getting here in the chat is that you all have been doing this work, and you are advocates of inclusion and accessibility. But we try to let our colleagues know that inclusion doesn't just benefit the person who has a disability. It really does benefit everyone. You're building new friendships and relationships, skill development, peer modeling, improved behavior, increased awareness, increased knowledge, a general respect for people who might be different than you, increased self-esteem and confidence. There's so many benefits to inclusion. And so we really stand by that in our work. And here, sorry, in this picture on slide 17 is at our Disability Pride Outside event that was back in July. And our pontoon boat, we actually just invested in a new pontoon boat and also had to make modifications to our ramp so that it was fully accessible for individuals who are wheelchair users. So the pontoon boat actually has space for 4 wheelchairs on the boat. And so in this case, you can see this gentleman who's in his power wheelchair with his son and a friend standing next to him, getting out and enjoying the lake. Slide 18. So the top image on the right is of a Montgomery Parks summer camp where individuals with disabilities are welcomed. And they are welcome in any one of the programs that we offer throughout the summer. We also have one specialized program that's just for kids with autism and other disabilities. And that program is just for individuals with disabilities. They're holding up the sign that says, "We love summer camps." And this slide includes our welcome language, and I'm going to read it to you. It says Montgomery Parks, part of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, encourages and supports the participation of individuals with disabilities. Please contact the Program Access Office at 301-495-2581, voice MD Relay 711, or programaccess@montgomeryparks.org to request a disability modification. Visit Montgomery Parks Program Access for more information. So this welcome language is included in a lot of places. So it's on our park activity guide. It's on many pages of our website. This welcome language is included in every press release that Montgomery Parks puts out. And it's also included on several program and facility and event flyers. And so we want people to know that our inclusion services exist. And more importantly, we want people to know that they exist for free. And so that's part about, we need to get the word out that these services are available to our community. Slide 19. So these are some images that you will see on one of our flyers that we bring out to several of our outreach events. So going back to Title II of the ADA, we are legally required to provide modifications and accommodations so that individuals can participate in the leisure activity of their choice. So some of those modifications might be providing a sign language interpreter or designing documents and handouts with large print to ensure effective communication. We might provide support staff who have a background and specialized training in how to support individuals with disabilities. These support staff are not intended to be one-on-one supports, but they're to increase the staff to participant ratio and only provide help if needed. So it might be a little bit more hands-on if the participant has more needs. And again, we can sort of phase out some of those supports as we go through the program, go through the week, or however long the participant is with us. We might provide some adaptive equipment. So we've shown you throughout this presentation some of our more specialized equipment, but we also might be brainstorming some more simple solutions for participants. So for example, for our fishing program, maybe we have somebody who has limited grip. So maybe we use a tennis ball on the reel so that they can use their full hand to reel in a fish. Or maybe the individual's blind and they're fishing, and so we'll put a bell that's typically designed for when you're like night fishing, but a bell would be able to help somebody who can't see the bobber going up and down, that they've got a fish on the end of the line. But we also might do more, simple things like providing a spinning chair or fidgets for our kiddos who are seeking some sensory input or need help regulating their nervous system. So our programs require registration through our online software called Active Montgomery. And each program has a custom question that asks the individual if they need a modification. So if they request a modification, we worked with our very smart colleagues to set up an automatic email. One goes to the participant or their parent or guardian to confirm that they actually needed those supports. And then another one comes to us letting us know that an individual registered for a program and what modification they had requested. So this starts our interactive process. And then we will send each of them a modification intake form, which you can either scan the QR code or click on the link that is in the PDF. And that form, it's a pretty lengthy form, but it does highlight the participant's strengths, interests, and any areas where that participant might need more support. And so we use that information to determine what supports to put in place, and more importantly, to collaborate with our programmers at our nature centers, ice rinks, tennis facilities, to facilitate the program so that everybody can be successful. And as Amanda mentioned before, we do also have the modification intake form that is in Spanish to make our services accessible to more families. Slide 20. So inclusive recreation sort of provides the bridge, but our ultimate goal is for our participants to be independent. We want individuals to leave our programs with the skills and resources and confidence to enjoy leisure on their own terms, in their own time. And so that's really what we mean by independent leisure. And here you can see a more close-up image of our Easy Launch system, we actually received a grant from the Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation to install this kayak boat launch. We have 2 of them in our system. You can see on the left, there's a bench. And so a person who uses a wheelchair, or actually we find that older adults really enjoy using this to get into the water because they don't have to have that awkward balance of floating and trying to get into their boat, which is a less than graceful activity for anybody. And so they can use that bench, and has a step down. And then there's a board that actually pulls out from that bench that sits over the cockpit of the kayak. And the person would be able to hold themselves up with their arms, and then you pull out that bench and then they would lower into the boat. So that's just another, and then they use those rails on the side to sort of pull themselves into the water. And we have similar, that's how they would get out as well. And so that's what that kayak launch looks like. Slide 21. So even with this independent leisure, of course, access is only possible when everybody is on board and all of our programs and spaces are designed with inclusion in mind. So that's why we really focus a lot of energy on our public access to make sure that our facilities and events and spaces are welcome for everybody. So we've done this in a few ways, and I'll tell you about them. So the first is our chroma glasses. So I know that being colorblind might not be the first disability that comes to your mind, but 1 in 12 men are colorblind and 1 in 200 women are colorblind, which is nearly 5% of the population. And while you may not think it has a huge impact on a person's life, we have a couple stories of folks who it did make a huge impact on their life. So we have an annual program now. We've been doing it for 3 years called Birdability, where we work to make birding accessible for people with various disabilities. It's a week of programming at our various nature centers that are designed with accessibility in mind, and ends in sort of a cumulative birding day where we sort of bring out all of our equipment, get a bunch of different birding organizations together, and just promote the act of birding. But we debuted these Enchroma glasses at that first Birdability event. And the gentleman that you see here, he was looking at the trees changing color, and he had never seen that before until he put on those sunglasses. He couldn't believe, when he was looking at them, he thought that they were all the same color. And after he put on the sunglasses, he could see the difference between the reds and the oranges and the yellows. So, and then we also had a park maintenance worker who came out to that event, and he tried the sunglasses. His job is to take care of our parklands. So lining ball fields, mowing grass, removing weeds, reviewing charts with data about the soil, and a lot of other responsibilities that require seeing color. And so he tried on those glasses and he was able to see the difference between the parking lines. So that's a really, that's kind of a unique niche opportunity that we provide here in parks. But we have these glasses available for free at 2 of our parks. One is at Brookside Gardens and the other is at Black Hill. We do collect data on their usage, and we also get notes from the person who borrowed it to sort of get an idea about what their experience was like. And a lot of people are really impressed with what that is. And then we also invested in the Grip Freedom Chair that I mentioned earlier on in the presentation. So it's a mix between a manual wheelchair and a mountain bike. It's propelled by levers, but it also has companion handles. So if somebody needs to be pushed, they can get that. And it lives at one of our nature centers, and people can actually borrow it for 2 hours at a time. So of course we've got waivers, and we have to ensure that people meet the physical requirements to borrow the chair. Our staff are trained how to use it. They also have videos available if they need to show the user a little bit more about the Enchroma glasses. But due to the story that I told you earlier about Woodlawn Manor, we invested in a second chair that's going to stay at Woodlawn Manor so that anybody can access that Underground Railroad trail. Pass it to Amanda.
Slide 22. So we've talked about how committed Montgomery Parks is to ensure all of our park events and programs are accessible. And those definitely include all of our public events where registration is not required as well. So our public free events out in parks. As a team, we strive to support all of the efforts of our program and event planners by contributing to planning committees and supporting the accessible event design and inclusive space design at those events. We also provide training on what considerations they should be taking to make sure that their events are accessible, and also how to work through our internal processes of requesting those amenities and features and kind of logistics about what it takes to get some of our equipment out to their event. This means that we're involved from the start of the planning process to be able to provide that guidance to them. And we can also give some suggestions for how to take it again a step further to make sure that it's not only ADA accessible, but inclusive and welcoming and supportive to everyone's participation. Some of the events that Montgomery Parks offers to the public are like outdoor concerts, comedy shows, different outdoor plays, and like Parks Ale Trail, where folks can listen to music, have a drink, and then hike along a trail as well, and all in any type of nature-based program and event outside as well. So we also can provide some additional amenities, which we'll kind of go through. The first is our ADA accessible shuttle cart, which is pictured at the top right side, and it is an elongated shuttle cart that is equipped with a ramp for folks with wheelchairs, walkers, limited mobility, or even strollers or wagons to be able to access different parts of an event space. Again, we're out in parks, so it might not be the flattest path or the most level. So that shuttle cart allows folks to be able to access different areas of the park, or maybe the parking lot is a little bit farther from the event starting point. So we also will create accessible routes with that in mind. And then the bottom picture is of sign language interpretation, which we provide to all of our public events and shows as well. So that is free and it's always in place. And we note that on our websites and in our press releases when that will be available. And it's something that we're also trying to spread the word about, so that folks that are deaf or hard of hearing know that they can come out to any of those public events and be able to enjoy the show or music or event as well. Slide 23 continues our list with the sensory retreat tents that we provide to public events. So these are tents that provide a separate area that may be a little bit quieter, away from the crowd, and provide some like alternative seating if somebody wants to take a break and sit on a swivel chair, a swing chair, a wobble seat, or engage with some fidgets or emotional regulation tools, or just chat with somebody. We staff it as well with one of our support staffs or our program access team members. We've been able to take this out to multiple events throughout the year, especially those that are family oriented, to be able to provide that quiet space away from the crowds. And the next is our social narrative. So on the bottom right is an example of one that we've created for a facility, but we create these as well in collaboration with the event planners to be able to provide a concise visual tool so that individuals can understand and successfully navigate the event or program. This will also highlight any accessibility features of the event and where to find them. For example, like a map of where accessible parking is, or a drop-off location, or accessible restrooms, and any other aspect of the event, so people can really get a good sense of what to expect before they go out there, and visualize it as well with pictures and captions on our website. So this has been really helpful for a lot of folks too. Slide 24. Rounding out the list is our adaptive equipment lending. Similar to what Jennene mentioned with those smaller pieces of equipment, we do lend those out for free during events as well to the public. So we work with the event planners to kind of brainstorm what types of equipment they might need to make an activity more accessible. Since it's public, folks are encouraged to let us know if they need something in advance. But we also like to proactively have that available in case somebody just kind of decided one day to go out to whatever the event was. So we plan to take out some adaptive equipment and offer like a lending system where folks may have to just like leave a set of keys or something behind to borrow the equipment for free and return it at the end of the event. And we also have some, and that kind of will depend on the activity or that are going on during the event. We also have an Access on Wheels trailer, which carries larger pieces of equipment like wheelchairs, walkers, ramps, and mats to make areas and different parts of parks more accessible. And so we take that out to larger events as well to make it available for the public in case they need it. Going a little bit above and beyond the ADA, we also like to make sure that, again, our events are welcoming and inclusive. So we do tailor some specific accessibility supports based on the activity. And this inventory of supports is only growing. Like after each event, we're trying to continue expanding these efforts. So we have different pictures on here as well. So we will make sure that we have clear signage and event maps, not just on the website, but sometimes technology can fail us or there's no service in a park. So we want to make sure we have large printed materials out around our event space so that folks can navigate the space more easily. It also highlights the accessibility routes, accessible routes and features again on this with a key of where they can find different activities, and that's on the top right. We also will post signage out. So to the bottom left is kind of like a sandwich board that highlights all of the accessible features that we are providing at a specific event, whether it's the shuttle cart that we mentioned, sign language, the sensory retreat tent. We note that when people enter so that they know what they can expect from us at a public event. And we also have been working on creating communication tools for different programs and events. And these are like visual aids to be able to help communicate with more folks a little bit more easily, and for maybe some people that are non-speaking to communicate their wants and needs with us that are specific to an activity. They're similar to our communication boards that we have out in our parks and have committed to include in any new construction park as well, where they can point to a picture and help communicate that way. So we have those made specifically for our events and programs that we run and can create them easily in collaboration with the event planners as well. Slide 26, a couple more considerations that we take are including cooling areas or cooling tents at larger events. Again, out in parks and nature, it can get hot during the summer months. So we equip these cooling areas with fans, seating, and water so that people can kind of get away from the summer heat for a little bit and regulate their temperature if needed as well. So that is something that we have been adding to our events. We also will include service dog relief areas, which is pictured on the bottom right, with bowls for water or any other kind of pet supplies that they might need. And again, this is something that folks can ask us about where to find, or it's on the map as well. And we also will make available any assistive technology. So depending on the activity, what you see in the bottom left picture is a dwarf camera, which is used for birding. which projects like a sighted bird. And right now we're on any other screen, and right now we're using an iPad. So if someone were to have spot a bird way in the trees, it could project onto a closer screen, and people could be able to also experience the bird sighting altogether. We have other equipment that we can take out to gardening programs like ergonomic gardening tools or gardening chairs and more things for birding like monoscopes that can be hooked onto a wheelchair or any other surface, assistive listening devices for speaker presentations that amplify sound for an individual. And we're really committed to, investing in any equipment that participants might need to make those events and activities more accessible. So we're always welcome to the collaboration with the community as well to see where we can grow our inventory. Slide 27. Our Program Access Office also provides training and development for our colleagues in Montgomery Parks. Training and education for our teammates at every level of our organization is very crucial for us and the components of accessibility that we want to achieve. So we offer a variety of different trainings and special presentations for our staff, and as well as community partners, such as this training. The trainings cover different topics like ADA compliance, inclusion best practices, universal design. We've also offered trainings in collaboration with other organizations like the Autism Society of Maryland for an Autism 101 training. And we are also happy to kind of develop and coordinate different specialized trainings for like specialized teams in Montgomery Parks specific to the facility that they may be working at. And the picture on this slide is of a summer camp training that we held for behavior management and including children with autism into their summer camps. And we were teaching the camp counselors how to use and implement a visual schedule, how to put it together based on the camp that they were working, and practice using it with participants. Yeah. Slide 28. While we are accessibility subject matter experts, we are not tennis pros, expert bird identifiers, skilled figure skaters, or, tree enthusiasts and gardeners and things like that. So we really rely on the knowledge and expertise of our colleagues in parks who are experts in those fields to be able to provide meaningful, inclusive opportunities for those programs, which they're already providing. And that is through our internal partnerships. So these help expand our reach and create more of those opportunities through collaborations, especially with our park naturalists and other park professionals, so we can provide an even wider range of activities. And the ones that are in these pictures are of a partnership program that we ran with the Autism Society of Maryland and Meadowside Nature Center. We offered a half-day nature-based program in Spanish for Spanish-speaking families who have children with autism. We learned about different animals and got to meet a box turtle. We got to do some nature-based art activities and explore a creek with built-in supports from the Program Access Office, the expertise and knowledge of our park naturalists and volunteer master naturalists, as well as the staff from Autism Society of Maryland. It was a really fun day. Other partnerships that we wanted to mention as well are with our Natural Surface Trails team, which are our expert bikers. They are mountain bikers through and through, and we have worked with them to develop our adaptive mountain biking program that not only they do not only just help us with our clinics, which are kind of the learn to ride days, but we also are able to offer inclusive mountain biking group rides. So that our returning participants can join an existing group ride that they run and have an inclusive experience on our adaptive mountain bikes. And that's been a really great success so far. We also can partner with different facilities to offer sensory-friendly experiences, like at the Butterfly Experience in Brookside Gardens, or sensory-friendly Saturdays at the Agricultural History Farm Park, just kind of offering our knowledge and staff and resources to be able to make sure that those experiences can be offered to a wider range of participants. And most recently, we've started working more with our volunteer services office to offer some more opportunities for participants and community members with disabilities to give back to their community and volunteer in a meaningful way. We've ran different pick up and play programs where we're cleaning up parks, but also giving some time to recreate after and connect with the community. And we're also partnering with them to get more folks out for our upcoming events and just run some more opportunities where our participants with disabilities can give back to the community in a meaningful way as well.
All right, so we had a few other things that we wanted to get to, but I know we're running out of time and we want to answer any questions. So I'm going to end it with sort of what's next. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to work with our colleagues here in Parks to offer as many programs as possible that are designed with accessibility in mind. So I mentioned our Birdability Week celebration that many of our nature centers are participating in and offering programs throughout the week that are open to anyone. The Disability Pride Outside, developing more special events where we can highlight some of the services and programs that we offer. We really want to continue to expand our partnership with our volunteer services office to see how we can maybe develop some job coaching programs. Of course, we have a lot of volunteers that Parks really needs in order to keep our operations running. And so we feel like there's an opportunity there to connect with some job coaches and other organizations to get more people volunteering in our parks and building those skills. And then, as Amanda's mentioned, is that those partnerships are critical to our success. I think Erica asked about our budget. Our budget is probably a lot lower than you would imagine based on what we're able to provide. And that's because of our partners and sort of friends of parks that are able to help. And then we also have some end of year funding that's allowed us to purchase some of these more specialized pieces of equipment that we're able to keep in our rotation for a very long time. So that's a little bit about what's next. We are happy to connect with you. This is our contact information. And we can schedule a meeting. You can send us an email and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But we want to thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you to the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center for inviting us to speak on our work program. So thank you very much.
Thank you both. This has been amazing. And I know we've got a lot going on here in the chat box. So why don't you and Amanda take a second just to kind of scroll through the chat to make sure we've answered any questions that we can answer in the time that we have left. And I will give you a moment, Jennene and Amanda, to bounce back in after you've had a chance to review the chat. But if you could allow me to share my screen, I want to pop up. So Jennene and Amanda, anything pressing that we need to get to? Any questions you want to answer? Or I know we are right at the end here.
No, I don't think so. Not that we can answer in a short amount of time, but please do connect with us. We'd be happy to connect and talk more.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you again, Amanda and Jennene. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing webinar and you guys are doing some really cool things, really innovative things at Montgomery Parks. And I'm proud to say that I am a Montgomery County native, born and raised. So I'm excited to hear all this. Yay. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm sorry that we ran out of time. But again, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we have. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.